Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our virtual dental shadower session. I just want to remind you that we will not have a quiz at the end of the session. Okay, so we are very fortunate to have Eleni today, and I'm handing you the mic. Feel free to start whenever you'd like.
Okay, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Eleni Papadopoulos, and I am a dental student. So we'll just get right into the presentation. So, like I said before, my name is Eleni, and I'm a second year dental student at Tufts University. I got my bachelor's degree in biology from Boston College, and I graduated in 2017. And then after that, I got my master's in biomedical sciences from Tufts Medical. And this is a picture of me from when I got my master's. So for some tips for taking the DAT, I recommend two different online programs. I personally did the DAT boot camp, but there's also Crack the DAT, which is another really great online program. And both of these programs have outlined a 1 or 2 or 3 month schedule. So they tell you exactly on what day, what to study, what modules to study, what questions to do. And it's laid out very nicely so that you don't even have to think about, where do I start studying? They tell you exactly what to do on each day, which is really nice. So those are the two that I suggest. And then I took it personally in the summertime out of my sophomore year. And that's because I had taken organic chemistry sophomore year. So I think taking that class beforehand is super helpful. I also took it a second time in the summer of my junior year. And the reason I took it a second time was because I actually went on a dental mission trip in the middle of my studying. So I felt like I could have studied a little bit better. So that's why I did it again the summer going into my junior year. And I always suggest treating it like a job. So that's why I also say taking it or studying over the summer. So going to the library maybe and being there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, just studying. But you also don't want to overwork yourself. So taking plenty of breaks and planning fun activities around studying and taking weekends off. So yeah, just treating it like a job. And these programs, the DAT Bootcamp and Crack the DAT, also have full length exams. So you can stimulate what the actual exam is going to be like. So I would go to the library and just practice what the test would be like. And I found that to be very helpful. So, the application opens around May. You can submit it in June. And then the second time I took it July 15th, I believe. And that gives enough time with the processing of the application. So, if you take it mid-July, I think that's still a good time when you are applying. So for community service, I did a couple of things. I was part of the pre-dental society on my campus, and through that, we would do little trips to local elementary schools, and we would teach them oral health care, which I thought was really fun and really cute, seeing all the little kids. Um, I also did go on a dental mission trip with my pre-dental society, and that was through Vita Volunteer. And they have this whole program set up and they organize everything for you. They have itineraries, so it's very easy to go on these trips, meaning that they have everything set up for you. They have little workshops, so they teach you the different tools and they help you get to know what procedures are going to be done while on the mission trip. We did a lot of extractions and we also did fluoride treatments. So that was a really great trip and it does cost money. I did have to pay out of pocket for the trip, but I thought that everything that I learned there was just very invaluable, and that that experience really helped me and motivated me into my journey into dental school. I also did go on some other trips through a organization that my dad started. He calls it Project Smile Well. We go to Zambia. I've been about 3 times, and we do extractions, and we also apply fluoride treatment. And that is another great trip that we've been able to do, that we've been able to raise money to pay for the trips, which has been really great. So that's also another option. If you wanted to do one of these trips, you can do fundraisers to raise the money for those trips. And like I said before, I did this through the Pre-Dental Society on my campus, the VITA volunteer, and the local elementary schools. But you can do any type of community service. These are just the ones that I did. I do suggest doing some sort of dental related community service that will really stand out on your application, shows that you're interested in dentistry. And honestly, it's just a lot of fun, and you get more exposure into dentistry. So I always liked doing those things. But yeah, any type of volunteer is good. So now when you're choosing dental schools, there's a couple of things that I personally think that are very important to look into. And first of all is probably the location. You're going to be living there for 4 years. So remember that you want to like the place that you're going to. You're going to be living there, and you're going to be going through a lot of stress. So being in a location that you can, go out with your friends and, have things to do on the weekends will be very helpful when you are stressed and filled with anxiety during dental school. But also with location, it's important to see, what the neighborhood is like that your school is in, because it's a clinic and you're going to get your patients from the surrounding areas. So for example, Tufts is in the middle of Chinatown, right next to Boston or within Boston. So there are a ton of patients coming to the school. So that's something else to look for, the location and how easy it is for patients to get to the school. Something else is name and reputation. I personally really love Tufts because of its name and because of its reputation. Has a great name, reputation. So, anywhere you go, people are going to know that you got a really good education at Tufts. So when you're looking for a job afterwards, people will know that name, and when you're applying to residencies as well. So I think that's also something that's very important. And, the community environment within the school. When I went to the interview at Tufts, I noticed that everyone was so friendly. They loved being there. They said that, it was like a family, and that all the students were just so kind to each other, sharing study guides. So that was something that I picked up when I went to Tufts. And I think having that kind of community camaraderie within the students, I think that's also something you can look for. And then also clinical experience obviously is very important. You're going to dental school to be a dentist, so you want to have that clinical experience. At Tufts, we started operative right away in September, just a month into dental school. And then we started assisting first year. And then by the end of second year, we're already going into the clinic and we're seeing our own patients. So you're going to get a lot of clinical experience at Tufts. And that's something that's very important to look into when you go to visit schools and you're looking into different schools. So clinical experience is also very important. And then how do you determine the more important factors? So some of the biggest factors obviously are going to be your finances. Tufts is a very expensive school, and most students will take out loans. I personally am taking out loans to pay for my dental school. So that's also something else that's very big to consider. How are you going to afford the dental school? I know that some schools have in-state tuition. So if you do have a school that's in your state, that's something to look into. And then also, if you go to Tufts, for example, you're going to have to live in the city, which is going to cost a lot of money. I'm personally living at home just to save some money. But, also you will take out loans for that as well. So that's something to consider. It is a lot of money, but you will also make money once you're a dentist. So it's going to take a while to pay it off, but you will definitely be able to pay it off, but that's something else to consider, whether or not you want to pay more or, go to a state school. So that's something else that's very, very important. And then also just the quality of life, going back to location and community within the school. This is 4 years. It's going to be very stressful. You want to make sure that you are in a good place physically and mentally. Physically, like your location, you have to like the place that you're in, your apartment that you're living in, your situation, roommates and stuff. So that's something else that's really huge to consider. You're going to be really stressed during dental school. It's going to be a lot. So you want to make sure, you have maybe a support system. I liked Tufts because my family is close by. So I know that I have that support system close. So, maybe you have friends in a certain state and you like to be close to them and you know that they'll support you. That's something else that's important to consider as well. So, ultimately, I think you have to really consider the finances and, are you going to be happy in that place? So that's something else to really consider. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just like some overarching, like general tips for you guys. When you're applying, I always say apply as early as possible. The admissions is rolling. So I always think it's better to send in your applications earlier and, don't give up. I know plenty of my classmates who have had to apply again. And personally, I applied and they gave me a deferred acceptance. So they said, you have to do a master's first. So, it's tough sometimes to hear those things, but, don't give up. I'm here now as a second year dental student and I still can't believe it. I remember being in your shoes and being like, I'm never going to get there. It's such a long process, but, it'll all be worth it in the end. I know it's a tough journey and there's a lot of challenges and struggles, but, you guys will get there. And once you do, like, it's really fun. I love dental school. It's just incredible. And, it is stressful and there's a lot of anxiety, but, you have your friends to help you get through and, you're preparing for it now. So yeah, it's a really incredible journey and, yeah, you'll get there and it'll be awesome. So yeah. So I guess we can turn it over to any questions.
Thank you so much, Eleni, for taking your time to talk to us about your dental school journey. I truly appreciate it, and I know that I learned a lot from it, so thank you. We do have a few questions, so I'll just load them up and ask you. So what is the class size like at Tufts, and what are the pros and cons of the size?
Yeah, so at Tufts, it's actually a very large class size. There's 200 of us. So it's pretty large when it comes to dental schools. I personally really like it because I've been able to meet so many people in my class, and everyone in my class is just so kind and so nice. And I've met people from all over the world, which has been incredible. And I have so many friends in my class, and that's the pros of it. I meet so many people and we all help each other out. So that's really nice. There's a lot of camaraderie. And I think also because it's such a big class, we're not really competitive with each other. I feel like if you're in a small class, it's probably more competitive. It's really not. I don't get that feeling with my dental class. So I think that's another pro. A con, I honestly feel like I do get enough attention with the professors, but I feel like that could be a con that some people could point out. There's typically a lot of professors, especially in operative. In first year, we did have a lot of professors, a lot of TAs going around and helping us. This year it has been a little bit tough just because of the restrictions. There have been limits on how many TAs there can be, so it can be tough sometimes getting attention from the professors. But when you do need it, you go up and you are able to get the help that you need. So that's really the only thing I can think of as a con. Sometimes maybe you have to wait a little bit longer to get your questions answered, but for the most part, it's been pretty good with the ratio between the professors and the students.
Okay, that's excellent. The next question is, what is the learning format? Is it problem-based learning or is it traditional?
So I would say it's pretty traditional. We sometimes have like the flipped classrooms, but I would say that's very rare and it's not even the real like flipped classes that I know some other dental schools have. We typically have, the lectures and then, exams, quizzes like that. Sometimes we'll have group assignments when we work in groups. But yeah, it's the typical classic, learning style of lectures. And yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And the next question is, when do clinical rotations start and what can we expect from the clinicals?
Yeah, okay. So I have not done my clinical rotations yet. Those begin in third year. So that's not anything to worry about just yet. It will happen a little bit later within the dental school, at least at Tufts, they do it third year. I know there's a radiology rotation where you're learning, kind of going through again how to take x-rays on the patients and stuff. We did have one radio rotation in second year, but you have a week-long one in third year to really harness those skills of taking x-rays. And then there's a peds rotation, oral surgery. I believe there's a perio one as well. And there might be one more that I don't know because I haven't had clinic rotations yet. But yeah, that all happens third year. And then something similar that Tufts does is an externship. So you get to pick a location and you go for 6 weeks to work in a dental office. So that's something else that's really cool that happens in third year.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question is, what is the hardest class so far in dental school?
That's a great question. I think the hardest regarding like actual studying for me personally was neuroscience. That was a lot of like pathways and chemicals to know. And then anatomy was also very challenging, but I really enjoyed that class. I thought it was so interesting. So I put in a ton of work into that class, but I really enjoyed it. So it was challenging. It was very difficult, but I didn't think it was, hard or in that sense that, I really loved the material. So even though I was putting in all those hours, I was having fun at the same time, if that makes sense. But yeah, anatomy is definitely a struggle. I thought neuroscience was really hard. And then, operative can be really difficult too, because that's your first hands-on skills that you're learning. So, drilling and filling for the first time, it can get really frustrating doing lab work and all that for the first time. So that's something else that can be a little bit challenging. But for the most part, I feel like for me personally, my master's program really prepared me well. And I feel like if you have a good science background, you'll do well in dental school. So, yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. What was something that you didn't expect when you entered dental school? Something that you were maybe
Something,
unprepared for?
um, hmm, that's a good question. Um, I'm not sure. I guess probably the stress that comes with the preclinical classes and the practicals that we have. So I guess that also ties back into anatomy as well. For our exams, we had a anatomy practical, which means that we were tested on the cadavers. Um, so that was a bit of a challenge and a little bit unexpected, all the stress that came with that. Um, and then also the practicals that we have in operative. So that's when you're tested on your actual drilling or your filling. And so it's a different type of stress that you never really experienced before because, I mean, for me, all of my exams have ever been written exams. So this is the first time you're tested on your hand skills. So that's something that's different and unexpected. So yeah, that was different from anything I've ever experienced. and something that I definitely had to get used to. But by second year, I feel like the stress and the anxiety kind of goes away and you get used to it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. What is the cost of living near your dental school?
Yeah, so Boston is pretty expensive, I would say, on average. If you wanted to live very close to the dental school, I'm saying like next door, which some students do. The rent, if you were to get like an apartment, would be about 3,000. So typically students will split an apartment between three or two students. So you're paying either 1,000 to 1,500. Um, I know some people live a little bit more outside of Boston area, so they can, pay a lower rent. So yeah, anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 you could be paying. And then, but you also get that in loans from the school. They give about, I think it's around 25,000 per year. So you get the money that you need for paying for rent and stuff like that. So
That's really good. The next question is, when is the best time to take the DAT? Is it better to take it in third year or fourth year?
for the DAT, I guess it depends on your plans for after school. If you're planning to apply and then go to dental school right after, I suggest either your sophomore year or junior year, like summertime going into, the following year. I say as early as sophomore year because I personally took organic chemistry my sophomore year. So it also depends when you take organic chemistry. It's a challenging section, a challenging class. So I think it's easier to take the class first before you take the DAT. So, and the reason why I say sophomore year as well is because if you decide you want to take it again, that gives you another summer to take the test, which is what I did. But if you want to, you can take it during the year. I personally like doing it over the summer because I can treat it like a job and just study every day from 9 to 5. So it depends on what your plan is, because if you're thinking of taking a gap year, you can obviously take it after you've graduated. So it really depends.
Okay. What is the exam schedule like at Tufts?
Exam schedule. Okay, so at Tufts, it's not, I know some other schools do it where they have, the whole semester and then they have one huge exam at the end of the semester. So Tufts doesn't do that. Tufts has exams throughout the semester. So I would say it's typically about one exam per week and sometimes more. Sometimes you will go a week without an exam, but it's pretty spread out, which I personally like. I like being able to study for a test for one class and then I can move on to another class without having to focus on like 3 or 4 or 5 different classes at once. There have been times where they somehow scheduled 3 to 4 exams all in one week. So that does happen, but typically it's about one exam per week. And that's how it has been for first and second year.
Okay, that's great. What was your motivation for going into the dental field, like compared to other healthcare fields such as medicine or pharmacy or, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. It's actually a funny story. So both my parents are dentists, and growing up, I never wanted to be a dentist. I actually thought it was gross as a kid. But then when I was in high school and I was actually considering what I wanted to do, I realized that I like sciences. I knew I wanted to help people and change people's lives. And I also liked art. And I was looking at, different things, and dentistry kind of just like popped out at me. And I realized that dentistry has to do with science, the arts, and you get to deal with people every day and you get to help them and change their lives. So that's kind of how I got interested. And then, through the pre-dental society, when I did that at my college, I did more and more like shadowing and volunteering. And the dental mission trip and doing all those little things within the dental field really motivated me and made me realize that for sure this was what I wanted. So I think that's also something that's important, making sure that you're getting some experience within the dental field, some exposure, so that you know for sure that that's what you want to do. And that also helped motivate me and push me to continue and keep going with my application and the journey of getting into dental school.
That's great. The next question is, what are some important things to keep in mind for Canadian pre-dental students who are planning to apply to American dental schools?
So I really don't know much about that. I think it's a different process. So that's, I guess, something to keep in mind. There's probably different things that you're going to have to do that, the US residents don't have to. So that's something you have to look into and do extra research. I don't really know much about that. I know I have classmates that are from Canada, so it's obviously possible to come here and study in the States. But yeah, I would do research on that. I'm sorry, I don't really know much about that. But yeah, I think there's like some probably different things that you guys have to do if you are coming from Canada. But yeah, I would just do research because I don't really know much about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. The next question is, what was your favorite dental shadowing experience?
My favorite was probably my mission trip that I did through with my pre-dental society. I just learned so much on that trip because we were like assisting the dentists there and we were passing them instruments. We really had to learn a lot. They taught us all the different instruments, the forceps, and even the anesthesia injections. Even though we weren't doing that, they were teaching us that, which was really cool. It was my first exposure really to dentistry and learning all these things. So it was a really cool experience, and being able to help the patients and see them come in and then leave. And then we also did go to a few local communities, local homes, and we taught them, how to brush their teeth, and we handed out toothbrushes to them. And it was just such a great experience, really rewarding for me, being able to know that I was helping people. And yeah, I think that was such a great experience for me. And I know obviously that not everyone can go on a mission trip like that, but you can do things like that here too, helping people. I know there's plenty of organizations that you could look into, but yeah, just having some experience volunteering, giving back, I think that's really good experience.
Okay, and the next question is it safe to apply in mid-September for the next year's cycle, which is in 2022, without the DAT, since I am taking my DAT in August?
Oh, if you're taking it in August, I would submit your application in August because it's going to take time to process. It'll take a few weeks. It's okay to submit your application before taking the DAT. That's totally okay. I think I did that too, because what happens is they receive your application and then they'll wait until they have everything. So your application will sit there, and then as soon as they get your DAT, then they'll look at your application. I would just take into consideration, I don't think that it's a bad thing to apply late. Just know that they're already filling their spots. They're already doing interviews by August. So it'll be a little bit harder for you when you're applying, just because they're already filling their spots. They're already going through the application. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, what is the interview process like at Tufts?
Yeah, so at Tufts, it's really laid back. It's just a conversation. And it's really just like, I like to tell people, have fun with it. Well, I hope now that you guys can actually go to the school. Obviously, this past year, it was all virtual. But when I did my interview process, you go to the school, you get to meet all the other people who are interviewing, and they might even be your classmates. So that's something to remember as well. You want to be friendly with everyone. You want to be meeting everyone, because they'll also be watching, and they'll see like how you interact with everyone. So it's just a fun day, and you get to tour the school, you get to meet students. So it's really fun to be at the school, see what it's like, see the environment, how the students interact with each other. Um, and then at Tufts, it's very laid back. It's just a conversation. They'll probably just ask you a few things from your resume, like, oh, tell me about this club. Tell me about this extracurricular that you did. And then they'll probably ask, why do you want to be a dentist? Like, what are your interests in dentistry? Something like that. But it's just a conversation. Sometimes it's with a student, sometimes it's with a professor. And just remember, when you're going on the interview, they've already picked you, they've already asked you to come, so they already like you. So remember that as well. You want to go confident in yourself, and have fun with it, because you might end up being there for the next 4 years. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is the very last question. Is there anything that you wish you knew before entering dental school?
So I feel like I was really prepared when I did my master's program. And I guess before that, something I wish I knew was just how to time manage and how to take care of myself mentally. Because I feel like when I went into my master's program, I was very burnt out, and I didn't realize that I didn't really know how to study. And that's something I'd probably tell someone before going into dental school, is that making sure when you're stressed out, when you're anxious, how can you help yourself let go of that? So, for me, I like to run. I also like to meditate, and I started doing yoga. So finding those things that really help you deal with stress and anxiety, because you are going to have stress and anxiety during dental school. So maybe you like to rock climb, or maybe you like to go for a walk or something like that. Finding those things that really help you, journaling, reading, playing an instrument. So find something that really helps you with that. And then also studying. Make sure that, if you are struggling with sciences right now, maybe you should look at how you're studying. What are your studying techniques? Figuring out exactly how you like to study. Maybe you like to listen. Maybe you like to see pictures better. Are you a visual learner? Figuring out your study strategy. Do you like to work in groups? Do you like to study by yourself? Do you like to write it out? So figuring those things out. I didn't know how I like to study before I did my master's, and that doing my master's really helped me figure out how I like to study as well. So I guess those are two of my things going into dental school. And also, make as many friends as you can, because the people that are your classmates, they're going to be helping you out all the time. Dental school can be really confusing, and you have a lot of exams and projects due. So, having those people within your class that you can rely on and ask questions, oh, when is that exam? Like, oh, do you have a study guide for this? Stuff like that. Or, do you want to work on a study guide together? Do you want to do some last minute review together? So meet as many people as you can at the beginning, and find out who you can study with, and stuff like that. And remember that you're there to learn dentistry, and you're there to study. So personally, for me, I did so many things in college that, my GPA really hurt. Like, I was in so many clubs and I was doing all these things. So I really spread myself thin. So when I went to dental school, I decided, I'm going to just focus on school. I did join one club first year, but because of COVID and everything, it just hasn't been kept up. So, I decided to focus on myself. So that's something else to consider. Like, don't join 5 different clubs, maybe join 1 or 2, and like really focus on school. I personally, that's what my mindset was. And it's nice to go out with your friends. It's nice to see your classmates outside, but remember that, you can't go out all the time like maybe you did in college. You're going to have to stay in sometimes on the weekends to study, and that's okay too. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. What else? Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that point. So that was the last question. Just once again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And to everyone else, just a reminder, we will not be having a quiz. And I hope everyone has a great day.